All right, we're ready. All right. Hello, guys, and welcome to the Villains Room. This is our first episode of our podcast. I'm here with a guest tonight, Clark. Hopefully, she could be my co-host. I'm really hoping on it, but it's gonna take some time. Today, we have a lot to talk about, and one thing I'm actually one thing that came up this morning was in my news feed was Steve Harvey and this rumor of that his wife's been cheating with the bodyguard and the chef apparently, and I found that quite interesting. It's kind of messed up because I'm like, all right, like, is this true or not? And then I go on YouTube and I find a whole bunch of videos of people saying that his wife is being a 304 out here with the chef and the bodyguard. And there's some videos basically saying, hey, this is not true. This is false. And I'm like, you guys are playing way too much. And that actually hurts more people than do good because let's be real here. Humans are naturally negative creatures. Like, if the lie is more, entertaining than the truth, nobody really gives a damn about the truth anymore. So, I don't know. Tonight, what you think about that?
I'm not too sure about that. I am a big believer of staying out of people's businesses. So, I just kind of stick to my own on that.
No, I'm with you on that. I don't know. I don't know. It just drives me insane. It's just because, I feel like a lot of people have been affected because of people just putting out false information out there, and I feel like the news media, Washington Post, or other big news names, they like that stuff because they know that's going to bring them press. And so it's just, I know it's just a nasty game, and it kind of pisses me off. I'm neutral. I don't know if it's the truth. I don't know if it's a lie. All I just know is that the red pill space is definitely going to eat this up and just go with the wife's just been cheating and doing what he needs to do, and then kind of throwing out Steve Harvey's name in the mud. It's nasty. I don't know. Oh, he got a lot of things going on over there tonight.
I do. But back on the Steve Harvey thing, I think it's sad that they use people's lives for entertainment. Absolutely. And it's sad that that's what sells instead of other things like financial literacy. I think people should be researching that topic a little more and not worry about what Steve Harvey and his wife is doing.
I do agree. Yeah, I think let's talk about financial literacy then. So let's actually talk about our upbringing. What did your parents say to you about saving money and getting a good credit score and things of that sort?
Yeah, so they said, well, my mom and dad said two different things. My mom said, you should always save your money in the bank. You should always make budgets. And she did her budgets on spreadsheets, and she still does her budgets on spreadsheets. And every morning she checks all of her credit cards, her accounts, and she makes sure she's on budget. So that's what I learned from my mom. So now I also make spreadsheets. I've ventured out to all of the useful apps, and I'm trying to make my own thing through coding, which would be nice. So it would be specialized just to me. And I think my dad was more of an old-fashioned type of person where he didn't take out any loans. He just dealt with cash, and they just were both big on saving.
I could see how saving would be considered a good tactic. But I think that the banks have changed so much that saving is just not enough. You know, I feel like you have to invest in something. You have to do a little bit of real estate. You have to figure out something that becomes an asset to you, and over time that becomes profitable. So I think that's the main reason why the real estate game has become such a big thing now in our age, is because of that situation. People are starting to figure that out for themselves. But when I was growing up, like, my mom and dad basically just told me to save, and like they didn't really tell me they had a spreadsheet. They really didn't tell me anything about finances so much. Just save, and I'm like, okay, like, save, that's it. Like, that's how simple life is. I just gotta save and I'll be good.
Yeah, it was simple for them back then because that's probably all they had to do is save. But we're living in such a different age. Like, the internet is right there. First of all, you can do most things in the palm of your hand on a phone. You could research stock options. They didn't have that option back then. And back then they lived in a different world, different housing market. Just everything was different. So I don't think that we can use the same things that they taught us this day and age.
True. Yeah, so I don't really blame my parents for not teaching me more about the financial aspect of things and how really it is, because like you said before, it changed over time. But it's kind of a nasty, growing pain, because as you get older, you realize how much you have to make sure that your finances are in order, and it becomes a big part of your life. Even so much that it does affect relationships as well, which is unfortunate. One thing that my mom and father also used to say is that college, I used to pay off. I got my house at this time, this age, and then that they will always tell me that like they will always tell me the BS, and then they talk about college like college is not that bad. I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you know how much college, like how expensive it got, how ridiculous it got over time? Like, I was just like, do they really understand what's going on right now with today's world? It's not the same.
It's not the same at all. The cost these days is just outrageous.
Like, it's, and then you end up paying for that for like 15 to 30 years, and that's and the crazy part about that, it's highly reliant on like your passion that you had. Like, if you go to school for a job that caps you at like 60,000, 50,000, and then you in debt for 100,000, 150, 200,000, then like it's a trap.
I definitely do think it's a scam. So it says that since 1980, the price has increased 175% for college.
Jesus.
175% since 1980.
That's crazy. And how about inflation? How much inflation do you know that as well?
Let me see.
Because that tells me all I need. If you figure out the inflation, you figure out the college percentage, then it's just like, all right, if college is obviously higher, then we're getting played real hard.
Yeah. Historical rates. They don't have a percentage for inflation.
I see. But hasn't it been going up with like 7 to like 3% or something like that each year or something of that sort? I'm just trying to figure this information out. But either way, college definitely has like went past inflation.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount.
That's insane. I remember I was going through Reddit and I seen this one post, and this guy was saying that his grandfather or his father was like, I only spent like $300 something on per class or something like that, or $200 per class, and like And I'm saying they're like, oh damn, I wish that was a thing. I was paying when I went to community college. I was paying out of pocket, and it was like 500 to like 750, I believe, per class. And I was working security at that time. I was making, for my age at that point, was like a decent amount. It was like 20 something. It was a $18, which was pretty good for my age group. Right. But yeah, like I just like come on, pops, you should know better.
Things can change in 30 years and 10 years. It's just not the same. We have to adapt.
I agree. I also remember like my parents villainizing credit cards as well. Mm-hmm. You know, they also told me, it's like, don't get a credit card. It's too risky. And what I'm hearing now is that my parents didn't quite understand how credit cards work, because you could use credit cards to your advantage. You just gotta know. You just got to know the sweet spot so you don't get taken advantage of by the banks, I feel like, because building credit is important. Like, building credit is essential for getting loans, is essential for getting better credit cards with better opportunities and better benefits. And it's also good for like buying cars, buying houses. I believe the apartments, people who like not homeowners, but I think it's important as well for like if you try to get an apartment, things of that sort. Look at that stuff as well. Mm-hmm. So like, I know a lot of us, especially in the Black community, they probably could share a similar story where their parents were demonizing credit. But credit is the game, so like it's good to understand how it works. How to better yourself, get a credit card if you can. Just make sure that you do your research before getting a credit card. Do not just jump in and just get a credit card just for the hell of it. Just look at your options, ultimately. So what do you think about that tonight?
Yeah, I was also taught that credit cards were the root of all evil. But I feel like if you have self-control, if you do your research, like you said, a credit card could work to your advantage. And if you pay your monthly bill off completely instead of the minimum, I feel like that helps a lot too.
Definitely. I always try not to pay the minimum. I always try to go for, I always go for like at least double my payment. I at least try, or I pay it all at once. But yeah, there's actually an interesting stat from Bankrate survey, and what they've looked at is that 40% of Black Americans say they do not have any personal credit cards, compared to 21% of white Americans and 26% of Hispanic Americans. And it kind of supports what we've been kind of saying, that that how the Black community and some parents would kind of demonize these credit cards, and that's the game. The game is the credit card game. But again, do your research. Make sure you understand everything that goes into a credit card, and then try to find the one that is best for you. But what do you think about that stat? I was kind of completely shocked, but it's almost doubled.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. I think it sounds interesting. And I'm not sure why that is, but living in America, you do need credit because, you don't need credit. I'm going to take that back. You don't need credit, but a lot of the systems are based on credit, like getting a house, like you said. I feel like that's a huge one. Business credit, if you want to start a business, credit is definitely good to have. I don't know if specifically like it's the credit game, and if you have credit and if you have good credit, you're winning in life. I'm not too sure about that part. Because if you can pay things off in cash and still get the same things, then that's amazing. But most people are not able to pay for a whole house. Put the 200 and something $1,000 down for a house, or 400 and something $1,000 down for a house. So
Very true. I also kind of what kind of sucks about that too is like when you take out a large sum of cash from the bank, especially if you're a person of color, you were kind of looked at a certain way as well. So there's definitely some type of like race component to it as well. Like how many stories have you heard of black people, even in celebrities, black celebrities, going to a bank, taking out a large sum of cash and being questioned like ridiculously about like where is this money going to, or getting certain eye looks, or
getting the police called on them. Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Or getting the police called on them. Absolutely.
Yes. So like, it's like it almost feels like your kid when it's always something. There's always somebody just like looking at you, tilting their head, because I think they believe in some of the stereotypes. And when they meet somebody who doesn't fall into that category, it's a different type of flag. And it's just like, what is going on? Remember the I forgot the gentleman's name, but he went to a bank. He took out a certain amount of money. He got the cops called on him. He sued the bank, got more money for that. Then he went to another bank, and it happened again. And then he sued the other bank.
And that's what we need to do nowadays, just sue. Something will change.
My man found a loophole. I mean,
infinite loophole.
I'm honestly curious on like how much money he made out of those two cases, because that's incredible.
Absolutely.
What is that, black privilege? No, but I don't know. Every time I come across that story or somebody mentions it just cracks me up all the time. That is pure beauty. That's pure essence right there. That's just everything I need to know. That puts me in a good mood. I don't know. There's something wrong with me. But I think what contributes to that stat as well is maybe, I'm not 100% sure, but the fact that, our parents said that credit cards are the devil and things that sort, that has to go back to something in our history where we've been taken advantage of, as a race more so, right? Because like that does not come out of nowhere.
No, it doesn't. It goes back to it goes back to after slavery, right after slavery. How they kept the black people on the farm. They gave them a chance to go, but if they stayed on the farm, they would have to work for a small amount of money, and all the money that they worked for would go into housing and food. So they would keep them in that trap and say, oh, you owe me for this, you owe me for that. And they essentially would have to stay on the plantations, on the farms, and it would be an endless cycle. Also, in the 50s and 60s, when black families would go to buy a house or take out a loan, they were discriminated against. Never mind credit cards. I'm sure they wouldn't let them do that. But there's just been a history of when black people want to take out credit, either they were given the short end of the stick, a really bad deal, or they couldn't do it at all.
That's very true. That's very true. And I think at one point in time when banks were, trying to, how would I say, were trying to come up, they would purposely go to these, go to places where there's a lot of black people or minorities, and they would like advertise their bank and tell them this is good, this is a good opportunity for you, or kind of put them in the trap, because that was the way of doing advertisement back then. You go door to door, you would kind of represent yourself and say, hey, this is a bank, you should try it out, there's great deals, there's great options, and in reality it's not. And plus, money, finances in general were new to us as well, because we're if you're going back to slavery times and after slavery, like that was a whole new game for us. Like, we didn't quite understand or have the knowledge of finances like that. We're just starting to come up, we're starting to develop ourselves, we're trying to pick ourselves up. That's very nasty, especially the redlining piece. It's interesting how banks would also purposely put like minorities and of course African Americans in this one area and redline them from having certain opportunities with the banks. And so you were literally starting, how would you say, you're already starting from the bottom, because it's just like you don't have the opportunities, don't have the knowledge, everything's against you. Like, in order for you to become educated on that, you would have to go out of your way to do it, right? And even then, you're still faced with probably some racism, some, how would I say, of course, some lying as well. It's a stressful game. It's a really, truly stressful game. I honestly don't know. I don't even know how it's like to be back in those days. I could just assume that it's very stressful.
Absolutely.
Very stressful. Oh man. Tonight, every time I think about this, it always gets me heated, because I'm just like, damn, they really were fucking with us in the wrong way. So how you feel about that and the banks and how corrupt they are?
I think it stinks. There are a lot of programs and opportunities out there, but what I have found is that they are only, like you said, in certain states, and maybe not in my area. There's a limited amount of spots. So I feel like the internet is out there. Access to information is out there. And, this is a new generation. I feel like it's not like when our parents were young. There's easy ways to access information and to get ahead. Just think that we should use it.
I agree with you. We do have a lot of access today that we didn't have in the past. I think we should, I think it's good to utilize the internet to get what we need. So,
and I think our community is.
I think we are. Yeah, I think we definitely are. I think we're definitely understanding money more. But we are still behind, but I think we are gradually catching up. So it's like we are definitely doing something about it, and I like progress. And I do want to appreciate, of course, our community for doing some of the research that they need to do. Because again, when your parents are saying this and that, and it's different now than it was before, it's you have to also undo some of your programming. So hey, if you guys want to know more about financial literacy, go and get it. The internet is right there. You got a smartphone. You got something called Google. You have all these things in your hands. iPhone, Android, whatever. Even go to a dang library if you don't have that access. Like there's so much information out there for us. And so let's actually try to be one of the highest races with the highest credit scores. Let's try to aim for that. Shoot, man. I would like to at least be Asians who have like at least the average credit score at 728. That's kind of crazy. I want at least to be 750 average for all of us. Let's see here. So tell me tonight, what was your first credit card?
My first credit card, I believe, was Discover.
Discover.
Yeah.
Sure. Mine was I forgot what I had. I think it was the Amazon card.
If I had Amazon too.
You have Amazon as well?
Yeah.
I think that's the only one I really messed with, and I think it was by Vista. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah. So that's like where I got introduced into the credit world, was through Amazon, which is kind of funny. Before then, I still had that same mindset that credit cards were bad, but I just took a leap of faith and got a credit card to see what this is about. Hey, it is what it is. Another thing. You got to tell me tonight, like, have you ever come across, let's say, like getting a loan or getting a car where your credit score was, pretty much reliant on, and you realize that you probably need to get your credit score up or anything like that?
Absolutely. I had bad credit at one point in my life. It was because of my student loans. Those up to wonderful. It was because of my student loans, and with credit, if you have a negative mark, let's say you didn't pay for a month, they give you a negative mark, and that negative mark does not come off your credit report for 7 years.
Wow.
Yes, and I believe the negative marks are worth 30% of your credit score. So it can really bring it down. So for my car, I wanted to take out a loan to repair my credit. I ended up paying 90% of the car and putting the rest on credit so I could build my credit. But I didn't have a proper understanding of how credit worked and how long it would take to build, and that 7-year rule. So it took me a while to build my credit, but it's finally up there.
That's what I like to hear. Yeah, it's definitely trial and error. Yep. I think my first bad experience it wasn't necessarily like a credit card. It was just the banks. I think I was 18 or 17, and I had Citizens Bank. And I overdrafted, and I realized I overdrafted in my account. And what was happening is that what I thought originally was that I owed Citizens Bank $10. It turned out to be $100 for some reason. So I owed them like $100. When I looked back, it said negative 100. And I was like, what the hell? But not only that, is that I put overdraft protection on it at that time before I even got the card in my hand. And so I was trying to figure out like what the hell happened here. Why I owe the bank $100? Why is my bank account negative 100 right now? I was so fucking confused. I called up my mom, was like, yo, what's going on here? Why I owe them money? Yeah. But that was my first and last. And I believe I was working at Shaw's at the time. And because Citizens Bank was inside the Shaw's is the reason why I got it. But then it was just like, like, what the fuck? Maybe that's the reason why I truly got it, because the accessibility. But I just found that, like, at that time was kind of eye-opening. I was like, fuck that. And I probably didn't fuck with like any credit card or like credit cards because I was just like, if this could happen with a regular debit card, then I can't imagine what a credit card would do.
That's why it's always important to pick the right banks. And just to put out there, Citizens is Black owned, which is amazing. But you always have to find the right banking system. I had that same problem with Bank of America. And about 4 years ago, I said, I'm done with this. Over fees, I'm getting a new bank. So I closed my accounts with them and I picked up Fidelity. And I love Fidelity.
Fidelity is not a bad bank at all. I currently have SoFi. The reason why I like SoFi is because they have the highest return rate in your savings. So it's like 4% or 4.5%. Which is higher than any other bank. Yeah. So I was just like, hey, yo, I'm picking this. Plus, like, you could pretty much do everything on the app, like from like getting loans or refinancing your student loans. And then they have like this referral program, and you could refer somebody to switch to SoFi. You get $75, or if you refer them for a loan, you get like $1,000 or something like that. Yeah, so it could change. The prices could change, mind you. That it's been some time since I looked at it, but I don't think it changed that much. So yeah, I mean, like, I like the SoFi game. Fidelity is good. I've heard good reviews from one of my most trusted I could call tech guy, and shout out to Antoine. He was telling me so many good things about Fidelity, and especially with stocks and things of that sort. So I don't think that's a bad bank to definitely put all your money in.
So I have a brokerage account, which means that you can invest your money. So you could get your paychecks deposited in there. You can choose how much you want to invest in stocks and, get the return. If you do SP 500, you get that 10% return over years. And you can also have a debit card attached to that account also. So I think it's the best of both worlds.
Oh, nice. I got to check out Fidelity, but this is going to be hard for me to just go to Fidelity with SoFi, just because of the ease of access. So yeah, that's sure. I think I'm learning a lot from you. I don't know tonight. What else is on your mind? You have anything else about the money?
Well, we talked about banking. We talked about stocks. Financial literacy. What is that to you?
Oh, good question. Financial literacy is basically, I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. Understanding the ways of money. That's what it means to me. Like understanding liabilities, understanding assets. I think that's important to differentiate. Like, for instance, today's age, unfortunately, cars are liabilities. Even a house is a liability. Assets are things that make money for you. So whatever you put in, like the real estate, for example, obviously you have to spend money to make money. But if you do buy some property and you do pay off whatever you need to pay off, eventually that makes money for you. That becomes an asset. That's no longer in the liability realm of things. So I also think, I think it's very important to understand assets and liabilities as well in financial literacy. If you don't, you could put yourself into a bad situation. So if you guys are interested in understanding that, like, again, Google it. There's also a great book. I think it's called, Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, yeah.
And that's actually an amazing book. It tells the difference between somebody who is college educated and then know a lot about money, and there's one who is not college educated and knows a lot about money, and the differences between the two people. So yeah, just read, I suggest you read that book because it really was eye-opening. I actually started to learn more about the financial game. And I just want to point out is that the education system doesn't want you to know about money. By the way, there's a reason why there's not a financial literacy course or classes in your high school, and it's another game, right? Because the more you know about money and understanding money, the more you could raise up, the more you could do more for yourselves. And I think the people up top understood that. And so what they do is that they kind of block you from knowing that information. So you guys remain on the bottom and not understand what's going on. In a way, it's kind of it's classism in a way, if you think about it. You know, it's the more they could keep you dumb, the more they could control you, right? So I honestly, again, guys, check that out if you haven't. I really recommend it. Good read. And please understand what financial literacy is for you. How about you, tonight? What you think about financial literacy?
Well, like you said, I never took a high school class on financial literacy. It wasn't mandatory. I think some states now are trying to make it mandatory, which I think is amazing. But again, we're in the information era, so I think that we can just get on the internet and ourselves. Resources that our parents did not have, our grandparents did not have. They're just right there in the palm of our hand. So we could absolutely look that up. Another person that I have been listening to is Dave Ramsey. He teaches you about money, and if you are in debt, he teaches you about the steps to get out of debt. So if you're not starting from a clean slate in high school, you already have your debt, your student loans. He teaches you small steps to get out of debt and how to handle your money and manage your money. And then after, your debt is gone, after you're making a little bit of money, you have a little extra money, that's when you start to invest. Yeah, so you start to invest, not just save your money in regular bank accounts. Invest your money so it can grow way more than it would be a regular savings account.
I never heard of him. Was he on Shark Tank or something like that?
He is not. No. Dave Ramsey is just somebody who preaches financial literacy.
Interesting. Because there was another... I forgot his name, but there was an African American who was on the Shark Tank, and I think he also supports a lot of black businesses. I forgot what his name was, but I know he's definitely making an impact in the space because I think I've seen a reality show where I think it was something with tattooing, and he was there and he was trying to support the tattoo business in New York. Shout out to him as well. Whoever could tell me the name. David John? Damon John. Okay. Yes, Damon John. That's him. Yo, shout out to him though, because he's definitely making a lot of us, especially young black men and women, understand finances, and he's supporting us as well. So shout out to him as well. Yeah. I mean, we talked a lot about today. But finances, I think my brain blew up or grown bigger. Not too sure. So what do you think about today's episode? How you feel?
I think it was great.
I think it was great as well. All right, guys. Well, we're going to end the pod, unfortunately, right here, 40 minutes. And hopefully we get another episode out to you, hopefully next week or so. All right. Take care, guys. And peace out.